Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Tables, Ladders, and Chairs. I'm your host, Eric, joined as always by my co host, T. T, how are you tonight?
I'm doing all right.
Good to hear. Sorry for the late start tonight, guys. We each had our own delays coming in, and lots to talk about. I kind of alluded into the description here. The day one pay per view rapidly approaching New Year's Day. Really excited that it's on a Saturday. Yeah, I love that. I hope they do that more often. I know the Royal Rumble is also slated for a Saturday, January 29th. And so that will be exciting as well. I want to start off. You know what? Why don't we get that? We usually do this towards the end of the show. We do the homework assignments and recaps of those. Why don't we do those at the beginning of the show? I know I assigned you Undertaker, Shawn Michaels from Ground Zero in your house, which that event was in 1997. The show overall, I mean, I didn't think it was bad, but it wasn't great either. The match itself, I think, kind of it's kind of encapsulates the whole show. It was a good show, a lot of promise, a lot of star power, and I wouldn't say it underdelivered, but it wasn't what I expected for the first Shawn Michaels Undertaker match, which is why I wanted you to watch it.
Yeah, hearing Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, I thought there was gonna be a lot more like action and drama and all.
Mm.
But I mean, I guess Shawn Michaels is playing his part as a chicken-ish heel, but still thought it would be more of a match.
Well, it was just an interesting story that they told over the course of about 20, 25 minutes that they did this. It was just, I don't know. And to me, it was the antithesis of what you came to expect from Shawn Michaels Triple H matches, or Shawn Michaels Undertaker matches. Like that match, I don't want to say there wasn't any action, but there wasn't a lot. It was a lot of, like you said, Shawn Michaels running around trying to hide and get away from the Undertaker and doing all those dastardly, like 1980s styles heel moves and being scared to death. And of course, the suicide dive was nice. But there wasn't a whole lot to the match, but I wanted to lay that out there because I'm gonna use another Shawn Michaels match in your homework assignment for this week, although it's gonna be kind of more in lines of what you did with me, the Brock Lesnar Undertaker 2002 match, and their Hell in a Cell match, which was, I mean, as bloody as it gets. I think we miss how, like, 2002 WWE, I feel like, is one of the more underrated eras. If you look at everything that happened in 2002, you had your first brand draft. You had Undertaker, Ric Flair at WrestleMania. You had Hulk Hogan and The Rock. The NWO comes back. Hogan back at WrestleMania, and like the brand extension draft. And you had a Hell in a Cell, and then you had the first ever Elimination Chamber. You start the year, the Royal Rumble, which had a triumphant return to Triple H, and
Heck the year.
right, and then you go all the way to the end, and Triple H and Shawn Michaels in a 3 Stages of Hell match, which is the match I am assigning you. 3 Stages of Hell from Armageddon 2002.
Okay.
So you're welcome. I feel like that'll make up for maybe a less than enjoyable homework assignment this past week.
So I'm guessing the wrestler of the week is Shawn Michaels.
Sure, we can. Yeah. Or if you want it to be Triple H, that's fine too. So you have two options there, whichever one you want to go with for my assignment. While you think of whatever that assignment might be, I'll talk a little bit about the Undertaker, Brock Lesnar, Hell in a Cell. I loved the whole storyline because I went back and watched most of the pay-per-view, at least the stuff that involved the Undertaker and the Brock Lesnar story. You know, the whole Undertaker had his hand broken. They wanted him to not wear the cast in there. Stephanie McMahon said he could. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, if you're trying to sell this that he had a legit broken arm, which obviously he didn't, because he wouldn't have been in the match if he did. Man, why would that even be a question of whether or not Undertaker is going to be able to wear a cast? Now, of course he's going to wear the cast. But he had been using it as a weapon, and so they wanted to take that away. Which to me, once a wrestler starts using the cast as a weapon, it's clear he probably doesn't need it anymore. Just ask Owen Hart about his broken hand or broken arm that he had for about 10 months back in 1996 and 97. Yes, it spanned over both of those years. I think he is actually 2 WrestleManias with it. Which was fantastic. But anyway, I digress. That match, I really enjoyed the whole, obviously the broken hand or broken arm was a gimmick, and that's fine. I have no problem suspending reality for that. And, the way that they attacked it, somehow everybody got bloodied in that match. Paul Heyman got bloodied in that match. Undertaker, Brock Lesnar. I mean, I'm surprised the referee didn't get a little blood on him. It was, excuse me. It was really an entertaining match. And in the end, they really booked Brock Lesnar strong, having him power out of the tombstone and into an F5. Not entirely unlike their second Hell in a Cell match several years later. That was also, that match was really good, and it really helped put Brock Lesnar really strong. And all I kept thinking the whole time was, well, and then a month later at Survivor Series, Paul Heyman turns on Brock Lesnar, and they kind of try to take the air out of him and decide to turn him babyface. Which to me, Brock Lesnar has always been the best monster heel. But I want to transition that into, I guess Brock Lesnar's a babyface now. I definitely find myself enjoying the Brock Lesnar character. This past Friday night, he had me cracking up. As he's sitting there talking about wanting to take Sami Zayn hunting, and Sami being like, well, I'm vegan, and come on, we're going. And he's pushing the wheelchair, and Sammy's like, all right, I guess we're going. And it was just fantastic. All this lead, and then Paul Heyman with what happened to the Canadian Besties, which, by the way, they had to be a tag team, and they have to be called the Canadian Besties. But that has to be their tag team name.
It'll be like RK Bro, but for SmackDown.
There we go. Yeah, and they can win the SmackDown tag team titles. And I figure the way you kill the team is they win the tag team titles at WrestleMania against the Usos. And then, of course, Brock Lesnar hardly ever shows up to defend them, and Sami Zayn gets stuck in all these one-on-one matches against tag team guys, and maybe even has to, at some point, defend the tag team titles without Brock Lesnar there. I can just see the back and forth between, say, Sonya and Adam Pearce with Sami Zayn being like, hey, you got to get Brock Lesnar here so you guys can defend your titles. And then finally he's told, well, if Brock's not going to be here, you have to defend him by yourself. And so Sami has to go in a 2-on-1 handicap match. He obviously loses the tag team titles and then comes out and blames Brock Lesnar. When Brock comes back, probably somewhere around SummerSlam, he shows up and he's just like, maybe even a few weeks later, maybe a few weeks after they lose the tag team titles, he shows up and he's got one of the belts with him and he's just like, wait, why do I have to give this up? Like basically acting like he hasn't seen the show, doesn't know anything about what's been going on. And, Sammy berates him about, costing him the tag titles because he wouldn't show up for work. Which, of course, at some point it gets physical. Sammy, like, poking at him, and Brock, just delivers an F5. Like, as soon as he gets poked, I want to just rip him up and deliver an F5. And just, grabs a microphone and goes, sorry, instinct, you poked me. and Sammy's laying there. He kind of does a whole little, I'm sorry. He just kind of walks out. It's like, I kind of wanted to be that like big guy who destroys everything and like doesn't realize it and then looks down, I'm sorry. I feel like that would be an enjoyable like twist in his character.
Yeah, as seen last Friday, Lesnar can definitely do a comedic character.
Yeah, I mean,
like he doesn't always have to be the murder, kill, big guy.
Ooh, me big, angry, strong mountain man. We destroy everything. Suplex City. No, he's a character, and it's funny. I actually didn't realize this until I saw Seth Rollins do his on the Stone Cold podcast. And Seth talked about how really Brock Lesnar's actually a good guy. And all he had to do is get him a case of beer. And basically he was willing to do the favors for him. And Brock sold for Seth Rollins. Well, and I think what it is Brock's fine selling for people, but you have to earn it first. You have to make him show that you're worth selling for. Although
I guess someone should have told Dean Ambrose to get him a case of beer for WrestleMania. What was that, 33?
32.
32.
Yeah, the event in Dallas. Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Because they could have did something good there.
I know. Did you ever hear the story about how Dean Ambrose was like trying to talk to Brock Lesnar, and Brock was just like, "Look, man, like, let's not make this real complicated. I'm gonna beat you up for a while, take you to Suplex City. You're gonna rally and come back with your weapons. I finish you off with an F5."
So boring.
I know. I just feel like they could have done so much more.
He spent all that time, Dean talking to hardcore legends and whatnot, and didn't even get to use any of the weapons, really.
And the thing is, Ambrose was willing to take most of the bumps with the weapons. Like, Dean Ambrose even told him, he's like, look, man, he's like, you can grab the barbed wire bat or something from me and whack me over the head with it. He's like, you can, was telling him, he's like, look, you can do all of it to me. He's like, let's just bring it into the match. And I mean, like, sometimes less is more. And I can believe that. But also sometimes more is more. Sometimes you need to bring that extra element to it. And I think that was what was missing in the Brock Dean Ambrose. Now, what I would love to see then in this evolution of this character and in this storyline with Sammy is that, after they lose the tag titles, they have their, thing on SmackDown where Brock kind of snaps when Sammy pokes him. They maybe have a match, Brock Lesnar, Sami Zayn at SummerSlam, is what I'm thinking. And it becomes like Sami Zayn's playing this like ultimate underdog, and it's gonna try to be the Dean like what Dean Ambrose was with Brock Lesnar. Only I hope do it better. And in the end, Brock Lesnar wins the confrontation because that's what you have to do. Because why did you spend all this time building up Brock Lesnar if you're just gonna have Sami Zayn? Although I will say, talk about putting over Sami Zayn and putting the rocket pack on him. Like, that would be something if you had, even if it was like, I don't care, any kind of chicanery or dastardly tactics. If somehow, Brock Lesnar slips on a banana peel, Sami Zayn hooks the trunks while with his legs on the ropes, and pins Brock Lesnar on a fast count from a crooked ref. Like, Sami Zayn beats Brock Lesnar, dude, that's something.
Mm-hmm.
Now, gun to my head, I don't think they're going to do all that with this story. But they have gold here. They do have gold here.
Let's just hope they realize it.
I know.
And do something with it. They've had gold like this before.
I know. Well, like you said, like you bring up, and I think it's a fair comparison to bring up the Brock Lesnar, Dean Ambrose. And to me, I've always thought, like, I mean, if nothing else, like, okay, you weren't going to use the weapons with Dean Ambrose. You weren't, like, could you let him hit a dirty deeds on you? Like, could you let him give you a bump on some chairs? Could you, after the match, after you've won, could you just give like a look back, like from the entranceway, a look back like, holy crap, what kind of war was I just in? Like, you realize what that would have done for Dean Ambrose's career at that time? Like, that would have made, now granted, Dean Ambrose went on to make himself by winning Money in the Bank and then cashing in and becoming champion that year. But imagine how much more momentum Dean Ambrose would have had behind him going into that Money in the Bank had he at least gotten an acknowledgement from Brock Lesnar during the match.
That would have been amazing.
Right. And that's one of those areas, and I know, like, Seth talks about what it takes to get Brock Lesnar to sell for you. Like, I don't know. How about the fact that it's your job as a reason to sell for him? Like, silly me. I know I'm not always the biggest Brock Lesnar guy, but I mean, that was a spot right there that he should have done some favors for Dean Ambrose. The favors that he did go on to do for Seth Rollins, and kudos to him. Although I hate the idea of just giving a guy kudos for doing his job, but yeah. But I mean, hey, if that's what we have to do in this day and age with this generation, I guess that's what we have to do, is giving guys kudos for just doing your job. But yeah, I think that, like, I almost look forward more to the end of day one being, that, like, we can get past this Brock Lesnar having to challenge Roman Reigns, because I want to get back to the Brock Lesnar Sami Zayn story. Because to me, that's the real story right now.
Well, maybe if WWE is smart and they don't want to go the comedy route, although it's comedy anyway, they could find a way to squeeze Sammy into that match, make it a triple threat. Although, with the WWE title already.
Yeah, and just I have inside sources, into WWE. I think since we've taken the air, they've added 2 more competitors to the match, so it's now a 6-pack challenge. And no. In fact, I think they're just going to have 20 men in there, 1 pinfall, everybody from the Raw roster. Gable Stevenson just got added.
I'll throw the women in there too.
Yeah, Dana Brooke definitely in the WWE title. Almost fraudulent slip. It's been almost 20 years, and I'm still making the slip to WWF. But yeah, they'll throw Dana Brooke in there. I know Reggie got added to the match, so he's in that. But now, this past Monday night, they really built up Bobby Lashley and made him look incredibly strong by having him beat all 3 competitors in the WWE title match what was supposed to be a triple threat is now a fatal four-way. Big E defends against Bobby Lashley, Kevin Owens, and the man who won the number one contendership, Seth Rollins.
I gotta say, though, whoever wins, there's no wrong answer, really.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby Lashley, I would say, has had the best 2021 anybody could have. Look, the superstar of the year is Roman Reigns. Like, there's just really no argument on that. Like, it's about as clear cut as can be. I almost feel like you should have the Roman Reigns gets superstar of the year, and then the not Roman Reigns superstar of the year. Like, just everybody but Roman, because Roman's obviously superstar of the year. And I would give you the argument that would be Bobby Lashley.
Agreed.
I mean, ever since winning the WWE title the week after Elimination Chamber, Bobby Lashley's been unstoppable. I thought for sure Lashley was going to lose the WWE title at WrestleMania. I mean, I practically was guaranteeing it and was already thinking about who Drew McIntyre was going to face in his first title defense after he got done giving Lashley a rematch at Backlash. And, I already had it drawn up in my mind. And then, during the match, I was just waiting for, Drew to hit the Claymore, have his big moment in front of the crowd. And then they didn't do it. And I'll admit, it was a great swerve job, even though I was kind of angry at the moment. But looking back, it was the right call because you don't want to make it that obvious for your crowd. To me, if he wins there, you've just shown how predictable your card is. And that was one thing. WrestleMania, I felt like this past year was a really good WrestleMania. Everybody, apparently the popular thing to do nowadays is to crap on whatever WWE puts out there. And granted, there's been some times where it's been rather easy to crap on what the WWE puts out there.
Well, that opening match, which should have been semi-main event, which was Orton versus the returning Fiend.
Yeah, that was weird.
Huh?
That was weird.
Yeah. But not even that ending part. That's a whole nother story. Just the match itself was just not that enjoyable.
Yeah, I'll tell you, one of the things...
How did they have him burned for months and then he just magically walks through the whatever he did and just refresh?
Yeah, where is that sarcophagus in real life for us? Because that's the only thing I could think to call it was sarcophagus. If you remember that, if you were a Stargate SG-1 fan.
Never watched it.
Good show, but if you don't like sci-fi, you're not going to like it. So I don't know if you're a sci-fi guy or not. But yeah, it does just kind of depend on what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, Stargate SG-1, they had the sarcophagus on one of the planets they visited, and it basically was a healing, you sit in this chamber and it heals you. Basically, if you're near death, you get it. They throw you in there, and if you're dead, it bring you back to life. But if you're close to death, it'll help you. I mean, if you still got some brain waves and a heartbeat, yeah, you get healed in that thing.
Well, yeah, I guess they threw the Fiend in there. Yeah.
So the Fiend got sent in the sarcophagus and then came back out ready to go. And just to get I guess that was Alexa being just pissed off that he left her. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. And they never really gave an explanation.
Yeah, that just happened to be his last match, too.
Which was hot garbage. I mean, I just got done saying how, hey, it's a popular thing to do to crap on WWE, but now I'm going to spend a little time crapping on WWE. They've let go of some fantastic superstars, and Bray Wyatt, that might be the most egregious release. It's one thing if you let somebody's contract expire or you can't bring him back, like Daniel Bryan. But they let the Fiend go, and they've let a lot of guys go, and really haven't had much of a Normally, when a superstar goes, you have somebody else that's kind of filling their shoes, and you say, okay, he's now going to take that spot. Who is it that's taking the Fiend spot?
No one.
Is it Omos because of how indestructible he's supposed to be?
Not unless it's supposed to be. Is it Veer? Or Shanky, whichever one.
Yeah, the one that's on Raw. Yeah.
Yeah.
Veer. Yeah.
I mean, they're showing those monster vignettes.
Yeah, I was going to say, is he ever coming out? You know who I think has a little bit, maybe not Fiend, but kind of like the Firefly Funhouse or like even the Eater of Worlds.
Oh, please tell me we're thinking the same thing.
NXT.
Joe Gacy.
Yes, yeah. Love it. I love that dude. That dude is great.
Yes.
Like, I want to see Joe Gacy. I want to see that, what's his name? That freak that he's got with him. I want to see him help Joe Gacy become NXT champion. Like, I want to see him take over NXT. And I want to see him get some other dudes with him in his, like, little cult. Like, and I want to see them show up on Raw and, like, attack a main event storyline or something.
That would be perfect.
Yes, a little invasion with the Gacy cult, or whatever you want to call them, Gacy's crew. I'm just giving him that name. We can come up with a better name, but like Gacy, whatever that guy's name is, maybe throw in a couple other people that kind of join Joe Gacy, and maybe some people from some different backgrounds. Like maybe you could have like Mansoor join Gacy. You could have like. Basically, let's pick out some guys that they're not doing anything with. Maybe Drew Gulak.
There's a lot of people.
I know, right? I'm going to overwhelm you trying to think of all of them.
I'm going too far with this one, but
okay, go ahead.
I can make it work. Asuka.
Yes, that'd be perfect. That'd be absolutely perfect. Because a gender neutral crew there, faction.
Yep, inclusivity and all that other good
stuff. Yeah. We could absolutely. And what would be cool is then like if you have Asuka there and Joe Gacy is lobbying to get Asuka like an Intercontinental title match or something.
That awesome.
Right? And then, so you're pushing to have like these intergender matches. I'm telling you, this could be big.
I was telling myself earlier,
mm-hmm.
Gacy's just the perfect combination of like Bray Wyatt and Kevin Owens.
Yes, he really is. Like Joe Gacy's awesome, and I want to see Joe Gacy. Like I want to see them put the rocket pack on him.
Yeah, I really hope they utilize him well. Like Braun Breaker, I love you and all, but Joe Gacy's the future.
Yeah, and look, I think potentially your next great rivalry in WWE, like and maybe it's in the next 2 years or so, the rivalry that is going to start defining WWE in the mid 2020s is Joe Gacy, Braun Breaker. So I mean, we could have it, like, and I just look forward to that, like, in say like 5 years when they're headlining WrestleMania, Braun Breaker, Joe Gacy headline WrestleMania. God, what year would that be? Like 43. And they talk about the little known match that they have at NXT back in 2022. Braun Breaker, Joe Gacy for the NXT Championship. Because let's be honest, Braun Breaker's winning the NXT Championship, probably New Year's Evil against Tommaso Ciampa. At which point, I do think WWE needs to go to Ciampa and be like, look, we know how much you'd love being a part of NXT, and we can bring you back from time to time, but it's time to bring you up to the main roster because, like, we need you for some fresh matches. And, like, I think you could compromise with him and do that. Like, say, look, you're going to be a part of the full-time main roster, but we'll bring you back from time to time to be a part of specials on NXT. Like, I think it's a fair compromise.
Adding on to that a little bit about bringing Ciampa back occasionally, I want NXT to do my idea for like a one-night special where they bring all the former NXT guys that they still have left.
Yeah.
For like a one-night special, call it NXT Homecoming. Boom. Just have a bunch of former NXT guys go up against current guys. Kind of like War Games, but obviously not War Games.
Right. You could do that easily. You could have, like, say, like, Shinsuke Nakamura, Johnny Gargano. If he's... I've heard conflicting reports. Some say Johnny Gargano is gone. He's not going to be part of WWE anymore. And I've heard others saying that he's very much still going to be a part of it.
Well, I saw you opened up a pro wrestling tees store, so there's that.
Oh, boy.
But yeah.
Where? In Ohio, I assume?
Huh?
I assume in Ohio, where he's from.
Probably.
I want to see one open up around here. If they opened up a pro wrestling tees around here, I'd be ecstatic. Of course, my paycheck would not be ecstatic. It would all be going to pro wrestling tees. But yeah, I love your idea on that. Calling it NXT Homecoming and bringing a bunch of former, like, Seth Rollins, Tommaso Ciampa, the first NXT champion against the current NXT champion.
You get Braun Breaker versus Big E.
Yeah.
Kevin Owens, Joe Gacy. Whatever, anything.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Doesn't even really need stories. Just have matches. We're having fun.
Grayson Waller, Finn Balor. There we go.
Yeah. Oh man, they're investing in Grayson Waller.
They really have. And like, basically they gave him LA Knight's spot.
Yeah.
Like, LA Knight was that, like, obnoxious heel. And they've now made LA Knight kind of a baby face. Like, is weird.
It's the fallout from what's it called? War Game.
Yeah. Yeah, I would enjoy that. I would certainly. Well, I think that is one of the better ideas that I've heard. Is the idea of having NXT Homecoming, having former NXT superstars come back and wrestle with the current NXT crop.
Hell yeah. Asuka versus no, I don't want to necessarily Mandy Rose, but
No, maybe Corey Jade.
I guess, or Raquel Gonzalez or whatever.
Asuka versus Rhea or Io.
Yes.
Asuka versus Io. Just yes.
Shut up and take my money.
Right?
It'd be a free event anyway.
Look, I'm gonna call up Peacock and just be like, look, can I just pay you guys extra this month? just please make sure no interruptions during the Asuka Io Shirai match.
Oh god, yes. This whole commercials thing is stupid.
Which I paid the extra for the no ads, so it's fantastic. Because I figured I used to pay, $9.99 a month for the WWE Network. Like, I'm not really changing. Like, it's like, oh, $9.99 a month and you get no commercials. I'm like, okay. So I don't have to pay anything extra than what I was paying, and I get Peacock without commercials. I'm in. Yeah, I now I'm salivating. I feel like I need to tweet Triple H this or something. Like, I don't care about giving me credit. Just book this stuff. Just that should be our new hashtag. Book this shit. Yeah, just like you said, Asuka versus Io. Hashtag book this shit. I feel like we could get this trending, although I'd probably need more than one other viewer to watch tonight. So I appreciate whoever is watching right now. But come on, we got to work together. We got to get this thing. We got to get that idea trending. The hashtag book this shit and just put out your matches, especially NXT past versus NXT present. That's money.
All right, let's all make like 6,000 Twitter accounts each, and then
that won't take any time. Make a whole bunch of email addresses so you can create Twitters to follow each one of them, and then tweet all of this stuff out. No problem. We will change the world. And I could just see somebody someday being like, "So, you guys have the power to basically influence the world by like making all these Twitter accounts. What did you do with that power?" We booked Great Wrestling. You mean you didn't try to cure cancer? You didn't. We booked Great Wrestling. I mean,
guys didn't hear it. Asuka versus Io Shirai.
And it's like that person sitting there, they're just like questioning you, but why wouldn't you use it for like, you know what? Just go watch the match. Go watch the match. You're welcome. I feel like that, yeah. You know, how do you solve world hunger? Asuka versus Io. Nobody's worried about eating anymore. They're just worried about watching great wrestling now. You're welcome. You're welcome, world. I love heroes wear capes. Solving the world's problems one dream match at a time.
Yep.
Okay, I assigned you your match earlier, the Shawn Michaels Triple H 3 Stages of Hell from 2002. You know what you could do as a theme? So I've given you two options there, is either Triple H or Shawn Michaels as the wrestler of the week, or you could say the theme being 2002, and you pick out a match from the year 2002 for me to watch.
Well, I got a match for each wrestler.
Okay.
I don't know if the Triple H one. No, I think it's 2003.
That's fine. You don't have to. It was just an idea.
Well, the original match I was gonna put as, I guess, a joke match.
Mm-hmm.
Shawn Michaels versus Hulk Hogan, 2005 SummerSlam.
Okay.
Which was ironically when I came back, started watching wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Took a little hiatus.
I feel like that. Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. I'll wait till you give your homework assignment, and we'll talk about the importance of sometimes taking a hiatus from it.
But now here's the good match.
Okay.
Triple H versus Undertaker versus Stone Cold versus The Rock versus Rikishi versus Kurt Angle. The 6-man Armageddon Hell in a Cell. I forget what year that is, but yeah.
Oh, I'll find it. I think it's 2000. Yeah, because Kurt Angle was champion. Yes. Okay. Okay. I'm in. I'll watch that matchup anytime. That match is an absolute treat. All right. There we go. So after assigning that match and getting me all excited, now let's talk about the importance of sometimes taking a break. And that can be however long you decide. I don't know how long you went between when you stopped watching and in 2005 when you picked it back up. How long had it been? Do you remember?
I stopped watching around 2000 or somewhere around
this was
there.
a healthy hiatus. This was like a 5-year.
I mean, wrestling was getting boring.
Mm-hmm.
So I just stopped watching for a while. I remember I was flipping through channels one day. I saw Brock Lesnar throw Zach Gallen down the stairs. I'm like, this crap's still on. But then one day, back in 2005, I think it was the 4th of July actually, I needed something to watch. And well,
There
I
was.
saw Hulk Hogan and Shawn Michaels, and they were setting something up or whatever. I'm like, you know what? For old time's sakes, I'll watch this shit. And here I am, back in the game.
Yeah, 16 years later, you haven't stopped.
Got my Universal title.
Nice.
I'm not pulling the other 2 titles because they're stuck on stuff, but yeah.
Awesome. I do. That's one thing I haven't really collected a lot of merch. I have some T-shirts, but no championship belts, no I don't know, none of the figures or anything like that. Which, I mean, look, people who I'm not going to be one of those who's like, oh, you're an adult and you have action figures. It's like, shut up, dude. You like what you like.
Exactly.
And because I'm not I would collect some of them. I'd love to get some of the old school ones. I'd love to get the British Bulldog from when he was with the Hart Foundation. I would love to get one of those. Because I think the Hart Foundation was that era was such an interesting era. Because I don't know if you ever watched much of it. Because you were little at the time. You'd have been what? You're 10 years younger than me, right? I'm 41, so you're 31, or you're coming up on 31?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're about 10 years younger than me. And so that would be, you would have been 6 or 7 when that whole, era was going on. The, what I'm talking about, the Bret Hart Foundation group with the British Bulldog, Owen Hart, Flying Brian, and Jim the Anvil. That was such a great time to watch. It was such a cool thing that they did where basically Bret was a heel. The Hart Foundation, they were heels in the US and they were baby faces everywhere else. And they went to Canada and stuff. It was every 2 weeks or so they'd be in Canadian City, or they'd go over to Europe and do a Raw from Europe, and the Hart Foundation would be the biggest baby faces and the crowd would be going nuts. Then they'd go to East Rutherford, New Jersey, and the Hart Foundation would get booed out of the building. It was the coolest thing. And and all set up after the double turn with Bret and Stone Cold at WrestleMania 13. And I guess Bret had felt like he had let some fans down, comes out and says he wants to apologize to all the fans all over the world, all of his fans in Europe and Canada. And then he said, to my American fans, I apologize for nothing. I'm just like, oh, shoot. Like, and it was so cool to watch how that worked. Like, them going back and forth. And the way Shawn would play up being a heel in Canada and being a babyface in America, it was just. And of course, he hits, like, Shawn accidentally hits the Undertaker with a chair at SummerSlam, and Shawn becomes the top heel. But like, him and Bret are still feuding, and so it was like two heels. It was just. And then, of course, that took us to Montreal, and I don't like talking about that. It still gets me right here, the Montreal Screwjob. I just feel like they could have worked that out better. Like, there's no reason why they couldn't have. If the whole thing was Bret wanted to see Shawn, like, because apparently this is the story now, is that Bret wanted Shawn to do him the favors, or he would do the favors for Shawn. Like, he'd be willing to drop the title to Shawn, but Shawn had to put him over first, and then he'd be willing to do it. Because of a conversation they had where Bret told him that they were going to have their match at Survivor Series, and Bret says to him, hey, just so you know, all the stuff that we went through, like, I'm still going to be professional. Like, I'm going to help you. I'm going to make you look good, and I'm going to put you over, and it's going to be a good, clean match. You don't have to worry about me taking any shortcuts. And Shawn looks at him, basically goes, that's cool. I wouldn't do the same thing for you, but whatever. And that's when Bret was just like, oh, screw this. Like, no, I ain't doing this for him. Not until he does it for me first. And so I'm just like, okay, if the whole thing is his last nights in Montreal, well, why not have them have a match on Monday Night Raw before Montreal and let Shawn put him over there, and then, they have to have a second match because for whatever reason, you come up with another reason. And, that's when Bret puts over. Like, how was that not the first thing they said? Like, if the whole point was he had to leave Montreal with the title, well, it's not like he came to you on Saturday and said he wasn't going to do it. Like, this has been a thing going for a couple of weeks. So, okay, like, the Monday Night Raw before, impromptu match, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Shawn puts Bret over, then Bret puts over Shawn at the pay-per-view. WWE, this is why you need to call me. I'll leave my number at the end here so you can call me. I'll help you out. We'll give you some great stories to avoid crap like this in the future. Fun idea. If you got to reverse book anything, like something that you thought was not booked right, you could book it the way you saw fit, like from the past. It doesn't have to be the only thing you do, because like inevitably we're gonna get off the air and you're gonna be like, oh my god, I'd rather do this one. But just what's one thing that you would say?
The booking of the Nexus versus John Cena and friends.
It's a popular one, yeah. Nexus should have gone over that night at SummerSlam.
I love at least John Cena years later admitted that himself.
Yeah, I mean,
gone over.
Yeah, Wade should have pinned John Cena in the middle of the ring that night. I completely agree. Mine, it's kind of a harmless one. Well, no, the one I really would say would be AJ Styles should have beaten Chris Jericho at WrestleMania 32. Like, that's one. Like, I mean, I know they put AJ right in the WWE title picture right after that anyway. But to me, like, it almost felt like that title, like those opportunities for AJ right afterwards, like it wasn't well booked because you had him lose to Jericho at WrestleMania. Like, AJ's the new face. AJ's the new, like, the toast of the town. Like, I just thought that was a given that AJ was going to beat Chris Jericho that night, and he should have beat him at Fastlane, and then you have a rematch at WrestleMania, and you don't have AJ go over that night. That was, look, there's no nice way of saying it. That was dumb. And the other one, I would say, the year earlier, it's another obvious one people always say, Sting should have beaten Triple H at WrestleMania 31.
Yeah. I mean, that was Sting's first actual match, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And to have him go out there and lose in front of everyone at WrestleMania.
Yeah. I mean, like, Sting always talked about how the reason why he was afraid to come to WWE is he was afraid to come here and for Vince McMahon to essentially use him to kill the memory of WCW and to kill the character of Sting. And essentially that's what he did. You have him lose to Triple H, and then you have him in the WWE title match for whatever reason. Like, all of a sudden Sting shows up and he's got beef with Seth Rollins and the WWE title. Why? Like, why would that be? Like, have Sting show up and have a feud with somebody. Like, I think that would have been an appropriate time to have, like, I don't know, Sting and Kane to set up Sting and Undertaker. God freaking forbid. Because that's what I would have booked. I would have booked, you know, Sting Triple H, Sting wins. Kane's part of the Authority, and so Sting Kane at, like, Night of Champions, and that sets up Sting wants Undertaker at WrestleMania 33 instead of Undertaker Roman Reigns that year. I mean, you could have done Undertaker Roman Reigns that year. You could have had, and then Undertaker John Cena at 35, the one that I went to, and that would have been cool to have Undertaker John Cena instead of the only WrestleMania in like 20 years that didn't have the Undertaker. Not that I'm bitter about it or anything. And especially considering you didn't put Undertaker at WrestleMania that year, but then it was cool to say, hey, we'll put the Undertaker in the Saudi show 2 months later and have him nearly die because of Goldberg.
Oh, God, that match.
By the way, a spoiler, I will never assign that to you as a homework assignment. I'm never making you rewatch that match.
I never actually watched it, so.
I will never make you watch it a first time.
But I heard the horror stories.
Oh, a train wreck. Okay, we started all this by talking about taking a break from wrestling. And so basically I gave you all the matches that would have driven me away from watching from watching wrestling and to make me want to take a break. I actually really haven't taken a real break. Ooh, was that? I mean, briefly in 2002, I missed a few shows. Like, I didn't watch, like, I guess it was probably about 6 months. But really, yeah, like, I haven't missed a lot. Like, I'd say I typically would kind of check out every year around football season until right before, say, the Royal Rumble. And although recently it's been like I've still been able to watch, even though like my focus is watching football. But yeah, I would say that there was a good number of years there that I would take like a couple months hiatus, but never more than a couple months. I don't know. Like, I do think, like, whatever amount of time period that you think is necessary, I do think there are times where wrestling can get so boring and mundane that you need to take a break from it, or at least watching the live stuff. Watch some of the old stuff on Peacock or whatever. Like, but I do think that's a healthy idea, like, the taking a break from it. Like, if you're watching it and you're sitting there being like, why am I watching this crap? Then, yeah, take a break from it and come back and see if maybe you enjoy it more in 6 months.
Well, I was young back then.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, It was just the same crap over and over.
Well, okay, so it was 2002, right? So I was 20. You would have been
Somewhere
like
around
12
there.
years old, 12, 13. So you're probably like, screw this. I'll take a break.
Probably right around the time, ironically, when the Attitude Era died down.
I feel like that was a lot of people that kind of I kind of took a break too after that. And like I said, only for a few months, but
That's when like a lot of people just stopped watching. Period.
yeah, I feel like the group that like, I liked wrestling really from I watched WrestleMania 1 and I watched all the WrestleManias, but typically like I would kind of get into it just before WrestleMania, but there was a lot of time that I didn't spend watching a lot of it. And but like I'd say 92, 93, I was 12, 13. I really got into it and it became like, something I watched almost as much as I watched other sports. And like I felt like that was a fun time to be a wrestling fan. And like to me anyway, and then like it wasn't until much later, like the 98, 99, when Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, like that's when all of a sudden it was like everybody who I was friends with in school, all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah, I watch it. I'm just like, dude, I've been watching this stuff since like 92 religiously, and now all of a sudden, 6 years later, you guys want to come down and Eric, have you watched WWF? You kidding me? Did you watch old school WCW back when Sting and Vader were wrestling in 1992 at Starrcade and tearing the house down in or in Atlanta? I mean, no. Oh, wow. Let me tell you, that's a match to go back and watch. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox now. Wow, it's been going at this an hour. I've had a good time here tonight, T. I hope you did too.
Yeah.
So all right, your homework assignment was the 3 stages of hell, and mine is the 6-man Hell in a Cell. All right, this is gonna be fun. I'm gonna enjoy watching that again. Everybody, have a great night. T, anything to add before we get out of here?
Not really.
Awesome. Stay consistent. I love it. Everybody, have a great night and happy wrestling.